Welcome back. Thank you again for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, JP. I'm joined today by my friend Matt Ferguson and Tyler Castle. Today, I have a couple of things on the agenda in the docket I would like to talk about. One, primarily being a little bit of old news at this point. I guess it's probably about, about a week. Maybe. About a week old.
Yeah, roughly.
The Conservatives have taken the House in the UK election, which is primarily what they just held, what they pretty much might as well just call another referendum vote for Brexit.
Took it pretty sweepingly, too. Like, it's a pretty solid majority.
Yeah, I don't think...
I've heard a comparison that it is the equivalent of if Kentucky voted for AOC for president.
Well, like, what did you say in the text? You said that this is the worst general election for Labor since 1939.
Yeah. It was sometime in the 30s. It was their worst performance since the 30s. It's the biggest majority that the Tories have had since like Margaret Thatcher days, like the 80s. Basically, British Reagan.
Someone on Data's r/Data's Beautiful posted a really good visualization of how the seats changed in between the 2017 and 2019 elections. If you guys haven't seen it on Reddit, you should. If
I have not.
We'll post a link somewhere. But anyways, yeah, here's a pretty nice chart that shows you where the seats were between 2017's election and 2019's election. And I think it's like 330 something needed to have a majority.
Yeah, I think they have like
Probably.
630 total seats, something like that.
It's a weird number of seats.
Yeah.
Well, there's also some asterisks to that, like some members don't take their seats, like the Sinn Féin, I believe.
Well, yeah, and it's not just Labor and Tories, so there's a shit ton of parties that are involved in the making up of the parliament. So,
yeah,
I don't know how exactly.
UK elections are a little bit goofy.
How does it? So Nigel Farage is like their version of like the speaker, right? Is he still that?
He heads up his own party, the Brexit Party.
Right. But isn't he also like the speaker of like the House of?
I think he like formed a coalition with the Conservatives, which are blue in the UK, which is very confusing.
I know.
In the Liberal Party, the Labour Party is red.
Labour's might as well. I mean,
red like communism. Yeah, that's how you got to remember.
Well, so that's the thing I kind of wanted to make a mention of is the fact that Jeremy Corbyn announced publicly that he was going to be stepping down. I don't understand where exactly the call for that comes from. He
did a bad job.
Well, yeah, obviously he did a bad job.
This was their election to win.
But so, like, did his party ask for him to step down, or was that because, from what I could tell, it looked like it was just Jeremy Corbyn coming out going like, "I'm going to step down as the leader of the Labour Party," and I thought to myself, kind of, well. Okay, I understand if you're thinking that, I'm going to do the right thing because I didn't do a good job and the Labour Party needs better leadership. That's fine. But later I'm watching Sargon. Sargon says that he doesn't think that Jeremy Corbyn is going to step down. He thinks that Jeremy Corbyn's going to find some way to weasel himself back in there to stay. Well, I kind of was under the impression that Jeremy Corbyn was leaving of his own volition. I could be mistaken. Somebody may have told him, like, you need to go. But
yeah, I don't know the motivation side of it, but let me pitch to you the narrative that they're playing. The current mainstream narrative is, well, Labor lost because he's an unlikable candidate. He's like a Hillary Clinton. He's unlikable, and people don't want to vote for someone they don't like.
Right.
What that's denying is the massive shift to the right that the general populace has experienced in the UK, and it's mirrored here in the US as well. So I don't know if it's what kind of motivation he has to step down, or if it's pressure outside, or if it's pressure outside and he still wants to maintain control. But I do know that that's the official narrative, is that he's unlikable and he's going to step down. Whereas, because that explains away why they got such a huge victory. And if you remember 2016, Brexit happened that summer, they said it wasn't going to pass. It wasn't going to pass. It wasn't going to pass. It passed.
Right.
People were shocked. Some people said, "Hey, this is predictive of Donald Trump." People are not liking how far left the left is going.
Well, because, like you get to the point where you lean so far in one direction that you start excluding members of the original base, and that's kind of where you run into these
working class union folks.
These issues of like, well, I don't really want to give up my ability to do this. Like, I was all for it when we were talking about getting me more money because I can't afford to pay my bills, but...
Yeah, there was an article written by a London, I believe it's London, is a UK firefighter. And one of the things he said is that him and a lot of other voters who were traditionally Labor voters, so you could read as Democrat voters, they felt like they were being kind of shoved to the side like an embarrassing older relative to the new face of like liberalism, like this liberal wokeness sort of narrative. They're alienating this working class, these Obama Trump voters.
Well,
which are now just Trump voters.
Yeah, I mean, that was the huge issue that people were having with, like, Biden people and stuff at the, like with Biden, the early days of the I guess what will eventually be the 2020 Democratic campaign. Because, he's over here, like, kind of pandering to, like, the super far woke left. Like, hey, guys, look at me. Like, I'm on your side. I've got your back. Like, I want change by any means necessary type situation. And it's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, the people who are going to vote for you are not those people. They don't like those people. Like, those two groups of people don't get along. The only reason that you are over there even talking to them, trying to get their vote in the first place, is because the closest thing that, like the far left has to identify itself with politically is the Democrats. That doesn't mean that they're Democrats, though.
Yeah, it's really an interesting situation, and I don't want to read too much into it because it's an interesting parallel between the UK and US, but it's not 100%. Well, but it's
because I think it makes a whole lot of sense. So, like, if you think about it along the lines of, if you walk into, if you walk onto Alabama college campus, right? And you're just like...
Roll Tide.
Yeah, and you walk onto Alabama's campus and you're just like, go Auburn! Like, you shouldn't expect to have too many supporters. Maybe it's realistic that you'll have some. Like, you'll have some people that are like, yeah, no, this guy freaking, he gets it.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't expect to walk into their house and say, like, I support the things that you're against. Give me support. Like, that's not something that you should see very often, and that's kind of what I think what we run into when the leftism goes a little bit too far. So they kind of think to themselves, you come over here, like we'll start propping you up because it's like, well, we want everybody to feel welcome and safe and blah 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 blah. Well, mostly they want other people, not the people that they've lived with their whole lives. Because it's like, I've lived with you your whole life. I know that you've been safe your whole life. You can let these people have their day in the sun for a little bit. So you let these, like whoever, immigrants of any kind, or just, outsiders of any kind, basically come in and practice the ability to remain outsiders. And then you're shocked when like the native people who live here at this point are like, well, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
No.
Because that's not fair. And I mean, it makes literally no sense because you continue to like ostracize the people who are like,
they're calling their own voters racist.
Yeah, the actual demographic, like the actual like people who make up the body of the country that you actually identify with. Whether or not they're actually, like if they, you seem like they're being racist or whatever, but if there's some Muslim people out there and they say something, like in the vein of something extremist, then you could say like, I don't want these Islamic extremists here. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you're not doing anything wrong in that sense. Or like, because
no.
I would be, supportive of anybody that was like, I don't want these Israeli extremists here. If there was some Israelites there that were saying the exact same thing, I'd be like, no, just nobody wants the extreme behavior here.
You're not allowed to criticize certain groups if they're just protected by the left, basically is what it is. If it doesn't, they'll give their answers on what, they were marginalized historically or this, whatever. You're not allowed to criticize certain groups.
And that list of groups seems to be growing.
It's growing, and you're right. And the main another thing is that a lot of times it contradicts itself, because you have the LGBT Q community, and they are their lifestyle is at odds with more fundamental Islamic culture.
Well, not
to say the least.
Not to mention that, like, they are at weird odds. Like, certain subsections of their culture are at odds with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like, so we throw it all under the label. So we got it's like the LGBTQ. Like, there's a lot of people out there that like that are part of the LGB part of that are like, like, we don't want the T in here.
Yeah, that's like the Dave Chappelle skit.
Well, and what you gotta realize is that there's a line in that LGBT. Hold on. The LGBTQ community, and that line falls in between the LGB and the TQ, because one is talking about sexual orientation, the other is talking about gender identity, and those. I think those are two concepts and topics that are not having a fun time riding together in the same bandwagon.
They're not the same.
That's a good point. I always thought the Q meant like you were like, do I want to suck a dick?
Queer question? What?
I don't know. Quasi. I didn't. I always thought it was like questioning. I don't know. Let us know in the comments below.
That's stuff I could look up, but don't want on my Google search history.
No,
look up.
None of that.
Nah.
Why? It's like a legit federally recognized activist group. You're like, I'm not gonna fucking bother.
Because
fucking queers.
It's
because I'm opted into all of that, kinds of marketing tracking and stuff like that. And if I do one LGBTQ search, then all of the Google AdSense that I'm going to see afterwards is going to be LGBTQ oriented marketing.
We'll turn that shit off then.
You're like, gay people, we don't want your shit.
No, but I also don't want random shit I'm not interested in. I want my ads to be targeted.
It's a joke.
I'm very careful about how it targets me.
It's a joke. No, but like, I think on a real
curating your ad experience.
I think on a real note though, like, you can see that there's like, especially if you focus on the lesbian side of like the homosexual community.
Oh, I'm aware of them. I've seen a few documentaries.
I know of them. I see them about. No, but like, if you look at like a lot of these women seriously, like in the early days, like in the earlier 2010s, a little bit before that, a lot of these lesbian women were coming out as gay, and like people, their peers and stuff, would look at them and they're like, "Oh, you're transgender." Like you're all super butch, and like you like chicks, and you like to be, like, think about the women that like in school or just as you grow up, you see women all the time that dress like guys, act like guys, do stuff like guys. They want to be one of the guys, but they're not trans women. They're just lesbians. That's just kind of like how they associate themselves, which is.
It's just their style.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm not knocking that. But like the big thing that a lot of them are having these weird issues with is that like in these early, days of trying to figure out what exactly the rights of like transgender people were, like in the early 2000s and stuff, we see a lot of these people who are in confusing situations, like sexually, getting told this advice like, well, you're transgender. That's what the issue is. That's why you're unhappy. That's why whatever. I mean, fuck, dude. South Park made an episode about it in, like, what, 2008?
Yeah. I think it was
before
around
that, 2007. I mean,
it's been around for a minute now.
Like they were knocking on that whole thing where it's just like, Garrison, he's a gay man, he thinks to himself like, like, oh, well, I'm attracted to men. I like men.
I must be a woman.
I must be, I must identify as a woman. So he goes out and he gets a sex change. And then he immediately, as soon as he gets his sex change, it turns out he's interested in women now. And it's like, I think the whole point that they're trying to make is it's just like, yeah, because he's gay. He's not transgender. They're different things.
Yeah.
Like, one is gender dysphoria. The other one is, you're just homosexual.
It's a very, very interesting. And you briefly touched on the concept of TERFs. Are you familiar with those?
Yeah.
TERFs, the trans exclusionary radical feminists.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting fight going on within this like leftist community.
Well, because a lot of these poor women, and I really mean poor women in this situation, a lot of these poor women who are very sexually confused get advice where it's like, you actually want to be a man. That's the issue with you. That's what's making you think this way. That's what's making you act this way. This is what we need to, you need to go and take a look at this. So they're like, okay. So they start doing the hormone replacement therapy and all of the insane steps that you actually need to take.
Yeah, that's the thing I want to put out is a lot of the people that are telling, oh yeah, this is how you feel, this is how you need to be, this is the way things are. The people that are also like, okay, so here's the a couple $1,000 invoice for the hormone therapies.
Well, it's not. That has nothing to do with it. The fact
people
that
are exploiting others' emotions for money.
No,
oh my God, what?
Yeah, but that has
heresy.
But that's not.
It ain't so.
That is not what I'm saying. Like at all. Like this has nothing to do with money. This has everything to do with people's mental health. Like this has the fact that you go out and you make this massive step, like hormone replacers, fucking surgery, all kinds of stuff, only to figure out after it's all done that that's not actually the situation that was going on. You know what I mean? Like this has nothing to do with anybody exploiting other people for money. This has everything to do with like somebody else's movement bleeding over into somebody else's, and there being like a weird cross contamination between these two things, because it's like you see people who think to themselves on the surface, that's what I want. That's what makes sense. But it's something that is so different, so absolute, that like you don't get the option to go back for the most part once it's done. Or at the very least your regular, everyday person isn't going to get that option. You're not going to be like, oh, I can go and get my dick cut off one day, be a woman for like 5 months, and then be like, no, I want to put it back on.
Yeah, there's no going back with that stuff.
Yeah, not without a bunch of money. So, and even with a bunch of money, it's like, yeah, you're going to be with this mutilated,
right. Nah.
yeah.
It ain't gonna work, right, man?
So it's easier to dig a hole than build a pole.
So, and I mean this without trying to sound like offensive in any way, shape, or form, but I mean like the main thing that you see with a lot of this transgender activism and stuff is, while yeah, obviously there's a lot of like trans men who are involved in these types of things. I think the proportions are a little skewed when you look at the people who are heavily involved, primarily being trans women, as opposed to, trans men. Like, think about it. And when I say trans women, obviously I mean men that transitioned into being women. So
I would like to argue that I think a big part of the reason why it has gained so much momentum as a movement is it's because it's something that powerful white men have wanted to do.
I don't think powerful white men want to do it.
They want to do what?
Get a sex change.
Oh.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I agree. I agree in the sense that like, I think that it is a primarily a man motivated thing. It is primarily.
Drag queens have been around forever.
No, and okay,
everyone's been like loving drag queens.
Yeah, no, and I say this at the risk
even
of sounding,
if just for meme value.
Yeah, people have loved them long before. Like RuPaul has been famous longer than any of us have been alive.
They used to have
RuPaul's worth millions of dollars, and all he does is drag around. Like
back in ancient Greece, when dudes would fuck each other for fun, they had I believe it was ancient Greece. They didn't have female actors. They had men dress in women.
Oh, dude, that was like all the way up until Shakespeare's time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like
Right.
women weren't allowed to do a lot of
Sometimes
things.
even castrated.
No, being a eunuch was a big deal. Like, that was actually a big honor back in the day. Like, like sexual orientation and like the things that we do are like these are all very recently created concepts. Like, back in the days of like ancient Greece, Alexander the Great and stuff, the primary use of sex was for, you know, like between men and women was just repopulation of the species. You could, you know, like as a man in, you know, ancient Greece, depending on where you were living, like in like primarily places like Sparta, you know, like despite what they say in 300, you know, like they were the boy lovers.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure Athens did some boy loving, but
yeah, that's what the 300 were.
But yeah.
150 gay couples.
oh yeah, no, I mean, like, well, that was like, it used to be like you would basically, like, these young boys would meet up with their mentors and they would, you know, yeah. They'd take them under their wing and under other things, you know, and wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
And that was just considered normal. And like, it was also kind of like a big deal for like men to be, you know, like able to like override the temptation of, you know, like their sexuality and castrate themselves. It was like, wow, man, like, look at you. You're above all of
You're so
that, you know,
pious.
like, yeah, like that's fucking awesome.
Why you gotta put a label on it? Labels just it conquers us and divides us.
The
Oh,
only,
you're this. I'm this.
The
I'm
only
this.
thing men cutting off their balls allowed for was for them to be easier targets for men with balls.
Yeah, that,
because
and then
they
they
were
would
like,
be
you
trusted with like the queen and stuff.
Just not to get her pregnant. They
Yeah.
still had sex. Like, if
So-
you could get it up, like it was all a matter of. Because like I know Alexander the Great had like a eunuch boyfriend.
Yeah,
You know, like
Alexander the Great loved boys.
yeah. I mean, it's you can't judge these people by our versions of, you know, current events. Like, if you read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, one of like the first things he talks about, he's like, and I learned that it is not proper to take boys as your young boys as your lover. And I'm like, nope, you're right.
That's what the Greeks did.
It is not
the
proper.
One thing Romans changed with Greek culture is they stopped fucking younger boys.
Yeah, okay. After what, 6, 7 emperors?
Something like that.
Something like that. So,
somewhere down the line.
A handful, hundreds of years into the Roman Empire, we
Yeah.
thought to ourselves, like, yeah, let's stop fucking the kids.
That was
It's scarring them for a while. Like,
It was almost like I don't want to say normal, but like you would send your kid to like a philosopher,
it was
and they would develop a relationship with this philosopher. It was like a teacher
so
pupil
okay, if
type relationship that also included blowjobs.
well, if you equate things in life to experience, logically, I can understand the evolution, like especially for primitive, you know, societies and cultures. Logically, I can understand the evolutionary path where you're like, well, I need to show them what it is like to be a lover. I'm not condoning it, obviously, but it's one of those things where it's just like, if you're a young, blossoming society and you're like, we need to teach the young how to do stuff. I have no idea. We're fucking animals, man. Like, you look at regular animals and you see, like, you know, like some super horny stag walks up to another male stag and he's like, yo, I'm horny. And the other dude's like, I'm a dude, I can't help you. And he's like, I didn't ask that. I said I'm horny. It's like, oh no. Yeah, like that happens all the time. And it's,
It
you know,
does.
between other animals, like it's we're fucked. I think primarily you notice it happens between the men, you know, like, and then going back to the trans thing, and I'm not even saying this is like a serious, you know, like I'm not knocking anybody, but it's just like men are sexual deviants. Women are too. They can be. But like we have these weird, like, overriding, like a higher number of men have weird sexual improprieties than the number of women.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean, there's a reason why prostitution is only one way.
right.
I mean, there's male prostitutes, but most of those male prostitutes get fucked by other men.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah,
if
100%.
women had the same sex drives that we did, we'd see more women buying
Well,
male hookers.
That's why you look into like
Well, I I think it's easier than that. It's supply and demand. If there was more women that would be that were interested in it, I think we'd have less of a demand in the prostitution market for men.
And there's also a lot of gross guys.
There would just be more bad couples.
I don't think that, because it's like I still think that like that it has nothing to do necessarily with being a couple or not. It has everything to do with the fact that you're like, there's money.
What I'm saying is that women are in a supply heavy market for sex.
Yeah,
so
but like
if their demand increases, the supply is there to meet it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, once again, like, if there's one of those things where you're like, like, I don't necessarily want to date any of these fucking nasty guys, but I want to have sex just as bad as them. However,
that's what the fuck Tinder's for.
Yeah, no, that's not what Tinder's for. No, trust me,
Tinder's
it's way harder to get laid on Tinder than that.
No, what we're talking about for women here.
Go to
for you.
Yeah, for you man.
You pervert.
No, but that's the thing though. It's
I'm
like
just saying, like even moderately attractive woman who's
even if they
broadcasting that she's down to fuck is not gonna have very much trouble on Tinder.
No, of course not. But the point is that like.
I assume she's going to have standards, and it's whether or not the supply meets those standards. But if you're willing to drop standards, if your goal is to get laid tonight and I'll give you $1 million.
Yeah, which is the problem that most men, run into.
If that's the challenge.
I'll put my dick in anything. Like,
you're going to have an easier time being a girl.
You rarely ever find a woman that's like, I will suck anything, man. Like, I'll fuck anything that moves. You rarely see that with women. However, you find that, you see that with men constantly, where they're like, dude, you give me Alex Jones as a woman, give me Alexandra Jones, and I will fuck the shit out of her. Like, let me tell you. And it's just
consensually.
Of course, naturally. Like, I'm not. But my point is that, like, these...
They're turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, well, I mean, regardless, though, even if, like, it was like that for women, I still think that, like, the prostitution market, I mean, like, yeah, I won't argue, it probably would be smaller, but I still think, like, the opportunity for people to make money is the thing that drives them into prostitution. It has nothing to do with the desire for sex and or relationships.
That's true.
I'm sure that women who are prostitutes now, in the day, loved having sex. I would go out on a limb and say a higher number of them at some point in time enjoyed having too much sex. It's kind of how they got into the little pickle that they're in right now. But
they're very good at it.
Yeah, but like this still boils down to, it's like, oh, why are you here? I'm here to make money. This has nothing to do.
Yeah, they set boundaries. They have clients. They don't develop personal feelings with those clients.
Even in porn. I'm sure that when you start off doing porn, you think to yourself, like, I am doing this because I love getting paid to have sex. That is awesome because I love having sex. And then you're in porn for like 5 years and you're just like, I am here because I'm getting paid, like $80,000 a year.
Yeah. To take 4 dicks in the ass a day.
Yeah. Like that's
exhausting. It's work. Simultaneously? Maybe. You never know with these fucking videos these days.
The internet is pretty crazy.
But let me reel us back in here.
Yeah, real quick. I don't know how we agreed that like we wouldn't do the transgender episode till like episode 500, and then here we're doing it on episode fucking 6.
This isn't the transgender episode. We're just talking about the trans movement and some elements of it.
I mean, like, once again, like, I'm not trying to knock the trans movement. I think that, like, it's important that we hash this bad boy out, figure out exactly where.
Obviously, there's some people that feel a certain way.
We need to figure out exactly where this is going to go for the future. There's, like, like, if we continue to push it off and ignore it and stuff, then it's not going to go anywhere. And if you continue to demonize it, that's only going to drive the demand for the movement up amongst the movement's advocates. So you really need to flush this out. However, I will go out on a limb and I will say that primarily you look at a lot of the, like the people who are hardcore pushing for this are men, they're trans women. And again, like everybody that I've ever seen who's gotten up in front of Congress for the most part and done stuff like that, done testimonials about the bathrooms, stuff like that. The trans men, women to men, are amazing at keeping their heads on. They're amazing at keeping cool. They're like, here's why I think that I should be able to use a men's bathroom. I have a penis now. I think that qualifies me to use a men's bathroom. And it's just like, okay, no, I got you, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's that's them. And then you have the trans women, the men who are flipping the shit out. They're just like, this is outrageous. This is discriminatory. You people are fucking, you disgust me. Blah, 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 blah.
It's a bit much.
Because men are fucking dramatic.
I have to tell a very awkward story.
Do it.
So, in our place of work, back a while ago, when we were working at an older building, we had the manager of the telephone operators team was actually a transgender female to male. And I had no idea. He got really good work done. Like, Sid, yeah. You know Sid. Yeah. Okay. So, so this person had, I don't even remember, but obviously having no idea and still being pretty young and naive, watch Sid walk into the girls' bathroom. I'm like, okay. And just not realizing had mentioned something to my manager, and my manager had to have a very awkward and uncomfortable conversation with me. But it's those kinds of awkward and uncomfortable situations that I think has made this a very hard topic for a lot of the non-transgender world out there.
So we'll end it on this note. It's like Dave Chappelle said, like this will always be something that's abnormal as long as people are afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's ever going to be something that will be 100% socially accepted. I personally, I have no issue. Like, if you're a man and you identify as a woman, you wear women's clothing, shit, you've even had a little bit of work done, and the women don't give a shit if you go into the bathroom to go to the bathroom, more power to you, man. Like, go nuts. I'll call you whatever you want me to call you. The big issue that I have has always been stuff along the lines of like what Jordan Peterson says, where it's just like, I don't like other third-party people coming in and telling me, well, you have to call them this. You have to respect these boundaries. You have to do this. And it's like, if you start telling people that they have to do something because the only reason you got is, well, it's going to hurt the feelings of this other person. It's like, dude, you're hurting my feelings by telling me to do this.
Yeah, you can't compel speech.
And it's just like what a lot of times you are compelling some people to do something that is against their beliefs. Yeah. I know my mom, who's, a very Christian woman, but also works in, the behavioral health and, counseling field, has had it suffices to say exceptionally difficult time wrestling with these paradoxes.
Yeah, but it's like, you're going to run into, like, and that's another thing, you know what I mean? Like, as you run into, like, as we progress forward as a society and, like, new types of avenues of science and new avenues of mental orders and disorders and stuff like that start to rise, like, the conflict in people's personal beliefs are just going to grow and grow and grow and grow. It's just going to be like, I don't like the fact that we're talking about this. And it's like, yeah, but we need to get to the bottom of why this happens. We can't.
There's not a lot of conversation. It's a lot of telling.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have a really hard time with that because they're not, when it's not a conversation, they're not allowed to ask questions. And I don't think a lot of people understand. I had a coworker come out as transgender, and she was very, very open and honest, and was like, "Ask any questions. Let's go."
No, I mean, dude.
And I was like, "You gonna chop your dick off? What are you doing? How is the hormones like? What is what does it feel like? How do you feel now compared to before?" And it was a great conversation. I learned a lot.
Here's a crazy example, and I said we were gonna end it, but this is my final note on it. Here's a crazy example. We went to high school. Do you remember Tilton?
Yeah.
In high school, Like, Tilton was transgender, like, all the way through high school until he got out of high school. Now he's just a drag queen. So it's like one of those weird things where you're like, oh, you know, like I'm like right on the edge. You know, I'm a homosexual man. I love wearing women's clothing, expressing myself in this, you know, in this manner.
I love homosexuality.
But, you know, like, so, you know, like you're like, oh, well, I'm doing, you know, I'm here, you know, like, and everybody's telling me like, oh, well, you're trans. And then you come to find out that it's like, no, you're just a drag queen.
Yeah, you just like it.
You just enjoy the way that this is. You know, like I'm not gonna look at RuPaul and say that, oh, he's a transgendered man. He obviously,
why? Yeah,
you know,
like, why do you got to put a label?
It's like
on
he's
it?
not. He's just a gay dude. You know, he's married to his husband. He's got his dick 90% of the time. I think he wears normal clothes. He wears makeup and shit. Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm not gonna look
TV.
I'm not gonna look at James Charles and say James Charles obviously wants to be a woman. You know, like,
yeah,
he doesn't. He wears, you know, he runs a makeup channel and stuff. Oh, shit. I'll even look at Jeffree Star. Do I think that Jeffree Star wants to be a woman? No. Does he look like a woman? Yeah. But do I think that he wants to be a woman? No. He calls himself a man. He fucking acts like a man.
Just women are not defined by their makeup and purses and clothes.
Yeah, but that's
That
see, and
doesn't
that's
make
yeah,
you a
and
woman.
that's where we run into like this weird, because it's like there is the gray area for this is huge. It's huge.
Huge.
And everybody just talks about it like it's completely black and white. They're like, you know, like there's gay, there's straight, and then there's the non-existent real middle where it's just like, you know, transgender, which is just kind of like a subsection of, you know, the not straight. So
yeah,
so basically it's like there's straight and then there's not straight. And that's
so my coworker who's trans, she moved in with another lady, and that lady is now pregnant.
What?
My coworker who's trans got together with a woman. She's now with a woman.
Oh, okay.
And that woman is pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, oh. So it's just like, yeah, there's no, it's completely different, which brings us back to Tyler's starting point, which was, it's not a sexual orientation.
No. But
it's a gender thing. It's different. They're two different things, and they're lumped together in the same movement.
Yeah.
One said, for the longest time, the message was, don't judge me based off of who I fuck. I can fuck who I want. And now this is like, well, I want to look how I want and identify how I want. And it's like, those are two different conversations.
No, I agree 100%. On an unrelated note, you got Huawei to respond to you on Twitter.
I did get Huawei to respond to me on Twitter.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the actual.
How?
I fucking tweeted at them.
What the fuck did you say?
I said, look at my big old dick. I'll pull it up.
Oh,
I'm pulling it up on my
course.
phone here so I can read
So,
it.
well,
And they were like,
send me the
at
link. Text
Spicy
me the link so I
Icy.
can pull it
No,
up on
thank
the-
you.
Yeah, well, text me a link so I can pull it up on the big screen.
All right, I'm texting it
Ah,
right now.
yeah, I got you. That's it.
We'll also post a link to Matt's thing on Twitter so you can go and add your comment to the conversation.
All right. I just texted it to you.
But yeah, read it. What's it say?
Who, me or young Tyler?
No, you.
Okay. So Huawei tweeted, why does trust play such a critical role in 5G? Huawei carrier business CTO Paul Scanlon highlighted 5 important answers in his keynote presentation at Trust and Tech Symposium in London. Watch the video for more. And I tweeted back at them at 11 a.m. So I think I was just like fucking around on Twitter at work.
What's your Twitter handle?
It's up at the top.
Spicy Icy
Yeah,
4.
it's the first one.
And I said, Chi-Coms will build backdoors in every 5G network built by at Huawei. Big tech deserves zero trust. Because it's true.
Interesting, but Huawei's...
They responded back days later, too.
Yeah, Huawei... They had to sit on that one for. Damn it, they got us. Shit, how do we respond to that?
This fucking guy's wired in.
This fucker, he knows.
It's not like the tweet has a lot of interaction though. It's got 3 responses. I'm pretty sure both of them are from. There's like 2 of them from me. One of them's from Charlie. So like, it's not like there's a bunch of people going like, yeah, what's up with that?
I didn't see this.
Like,
There was a guy that responded to it with the @Twitter handle Fight Chai Nazi. It should be why trust is so important to Huawei because there isn't any left, and they responded to him too. I think you can get Huawei to respond to you if you just criticize them, which is probably the most Chinese communist thing I've ever seen.
I don't even remember. I don't remember what the guy's name is because like half.
We didn't even read the response you got from Huawei.
Yeah, so
Huawei says Chinese law does not compel Huawei to install backdoors. We've never received such a request and would refuse to comply if we did. Huawei is an independent company that works only to serve its customers.
Sounds like something a tool of the Chai Coms would say.
That's how you should have responded.
I had a response kind of like that. I was like, "That's interesting. Huawei does China know that?"
Just China, yeah.
Hey, you think about it. China had to approve that response.
Of course, China.
That went through the Chinese censors.
Well, of course, that's their public appearance.
Yeah.
I tweeted at them back again, said, I don't think you're allowed to, quote, refuse to comply with a communist dictatorship. # trade war, # big tech censorship. I know they're
not. No response.
No. Yeah. But, I mean, that's what the whole trade war is about, is Huawei and the national security concerns that they're going to build backdoors into 5G infrastructure. And then, because there's 2...
Well, now, and now we're going to have this vertical alignment of governments and tech companies because China's already sent down the mandate to, wipe all Western technology, even integrated components, so that, LG, panel that's, or that LG monitor that's maybe using a Western-made panel. I'm just trying to think. I don't think there's any panel manufacturers left in the U.S. anymore. But anyways, any sort of component of a computer or a hardware piece that is a part of that, it's got to go. And so that's going to be obviously a huge market opportunity for Huawei to make them the, which, if they're not already, the, next Apple of China.
Oh, China's boosting a Chinese company and whatnot.
I mean, we do the same thing.
We've seen it time and time again. I mean, look at all e-commerce sites and Alibaba and just, how that competed with Amazon. Amazon's essentially forced out of China by now at this point. And that's just one example of an industry that they've allowed to come into their country, figured out how to do their own way under their own brand, and, make a good copycat, and then force the original out of their country.
Did you see that Amazon's moving a second HQ to New York anyway?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. AOC was out talking about it not too long ago. She was up there going like, well, you look at that. Amazon HQ number 2 coming to New York anyway. And everybody was all pissed off at me.
Well, if AOC isn't right again.
Dude.
Whatever.
No, it's kind of
we'll see what happens with that thing. Well, I don't understand why any company, I know the Chinese market's huge, but I don't understand why you would trust the Chinese government to be faithful and honest with you and continue that market exposure.
So,
money.
So I want to move into a new segment.
Because as long as they're making money.
So
in the short term, I don't know.
So I want to move into a new segment I was texting Matt about earlier, and we'll use this to segue into the shifter.
Shifty.
So I want to start this thing where we basically, I guess we run 2 episodes a week, so I figured it won't be too bad, but I want to call it the conspiracy of the day, where it's basically just like one of us or all of us go through Reddit, the Chans, wherever people think of deep, insightful things to put on the internet, and like take those and maybe create like a little thing where we talk about like, oh hey, this person thinks this, and here's the evidence that they think it, and like all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to speculate. I have zero evidence of this shifty thing that we are about to talk about, but at the same time, Adam Schiff has not been exonerated of being a pedophile.
Kind of looks like it.
He has not been exonerated. I have zero evidence, but I have found zero evidence that he's not a pedophile. Not one person has come out and said Adam Schiff is not a pedophile. I just figured I should bring that up and use that because that's the same standard we've been holding Donald Trump to. And I think it's only fair to hold Schiff to the same standard. So he has not been exonerated. There is no actual evidence that he is, but there is no actual evidence that there isn't either. And he hasn't come forward and said, I didn't see any tweets that said, I'm not a pederass.
So he's not even... Well, here's the thing. I'm sure his legal counsel has advised him to not say anything at all publicly.
No, and this is why this is
denial tweets or anything that.
This is a pretty big, like, as far as conspiracy theories go. There's like you have Epstein didn't kill himself, which is almost like a conspiracy theory if you think he did.
Yeah, right.
In terms of believability, and then you have like on the other end like the Anunnaki. Ancient alien stuff where it's like, yeah,
I think like
this is more towards that end.
I think like literally like the craziest thing that could possibly have happened in 2019 would be that Epstein actually did kill himself. It's like, oh, you know what? Turns out we did find the footage from the jail.
Yeah, Trump comes in, he's like,
he did kill himself.
It is what it is, folks.
Things on YouTube, you wouldn't believe
no,
it.
But I don't know. Like it's like. In terms of believability, if we went back in time and we were having this conversation in 2016, and I was like, dude, there is a pedophile island right off the coast of the Bahamas that the world's most elite individuals, members of the royal family, former presidents and senators of the United States of America have been known to frequent. Would you believe me?
Get out of town.
Like, would you honestly believe me? Because I fucking would.
Oh, like, you're full of shit. You've been listening to that conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Yeah, I'd be like, dude, does that like? Did you rip that like straight off of an InfoWars episode? Like, what proof do you have that this pedophile island exists? What proof do you have that there's senators and presidents and stuff like that who have been frequenting this island? And then it turns out, fast forward 2 years and some change.
Yeah, I mean, like, at that point in 2016, Epstein had already been arrested.
Well, you don't necessarily know it's connected to him.
It was already public knowledge that Bill Clinton flew on that plane 26 times. We just didn't talk about it. That's
even the island, though? Because I know that the island was one of those things that, like, people who were local to the area were like, we know that Epstein's got this island. And, I mean, I'm sure any cursory amount of digging up on Epstein's character would be like, oh, he stays at this island a huge amount of time throughout the year.
Well, his plane was called the Lolita Express.
Yeah, so I imagine like the fact that he owned the island wasn't that big of a deal. But once again, like if you just think about it for a second, where it's like the way that it's framed, where you're just like, there's this island that people were shipping little girls to and boys for the world elite.
Soon discuss.
For the world elite to get it on.
And of course, and there's, one group of people that think, oh, well, that's what, they're into that. And it's like, well, why? Why are they into that?
Because the Romans and the Greeks, man.
Or is it that it's a form of blackmail? Is it a form of blackmail where, you get dirt on yourself, whether willingly or unwillingly, and now they control you. For lack of a better term, they run you as a politician because they have blackmail on you, because there's video of you on Epstein's Island or whatever. And what we're going to talk about with Schiff Day today is that this post, which I saw on the Donald.win, which is the alternative to the Donald subreddit. Reddit annoyed me, so I just deleted the app off my phone. I still have my account. I just deleted the app. So I get on the Donald.win when I'm on my phone.
Ton of post karma.
Not that much. I still have the account. I still get on my iPad. It's just like at home. Like it was just like taking up too much of my time. I would like look at my phone, look at Reddit, and put it down and look at Reddit again.
I've only ever lurked on Reddit. I have nothing on there. No attachment to my Reddit account.
That's good. That's probably for the best. I should probably actually just delete my Reddit account at this point. I don't know what it's so fucking old. I don't know what I've said. But in this post here from the Donald.win, essentially what they're claiming is that at this hotel in LA or in California somewhere, Adam Schiff, quote, accidentally, and when I say accidentally, I mean he didn't think the kid was dead, but accidentally raped a dead child.
Yeah, when you texted me about this, I was just like, what? Like,
yeah.
What are you saying?
So, a piece of evidence that supports this that was not in this post is Adam Schiff is photographed multiple times with Ed Buck. Ed Buck has contributed a lot to a lot of Democrats' campaigns. He's a very large Democrat donor. Ed Buck had a black male prostitute found dead, overdosed on methamphetamine in his house. He is now arrested, and he's awaiting trial. That's not the first time that happened either. It's just the first time that happened under the Trump administration. So you have Adam Schiff photographed with this guy. Apparently, this post is claiming is that this 11-year-old kid, was on meth, and Adam Schiff thought he was passed out. Turns out he was dead. Realizes it after an hour or so, and freaks the fuck out because he realizes what had happened, and they got it all on video. And according to this post, Nancy Pelosi has it, and that's why he is kind of taking the fall for a lot of this stuff, is because he has to. Let me see. Was that everything I said here? Yeah. So there's that whole piece. There's Jenna Jameson also tweeted today, either today or yesterday here. Which, Jenna Jameson, she's also an anti-vaxxer, which is interesting. I didn't know that about her. I was looking through her stuff today. Yeah, she's very woke. But she tweeted yesterday, the Chateau Marmot. ... Schiff ... we know. Well, that's supposedly where this took place. So I don't know what she's talking about. Is it related to this? Is she just talking out her ass? Who knows? But this is what this is saying. And you compare this with the last little bit of evidence that Trump, before Schiff was Shifty Schiff, because Trump loves his nicknames, he called him Little Adam Schiff, Liddle. Adam Schiff is part of a Little Kids Foundation. It's like his charity. Like everyone's got a fucking charity. That's like his charity, Little Kids. And Little Kids, if you want to pull this up, young Tyler, they advocate for things like infant massage therapy and stuff. It's very, very weird, and it's just it's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even think about where he's what district he's the representative of.
Hollywood.
Hollyweird over here is fucking.
Tagline: the premier organization for infant and pediatric massage professionals worldwide.
That's the tagline.
That's the official site. What in? All right. Well, so you have Adam Schiff associated with this group. You have President Trump, who he fucking knows all this shit. Like whatever kind of dirty, deep, dark secrets, he's got to know.
He's in charge of the intelligence committee. At the end of the day, he's the boss.
Hey man, Little Kids is the gold standard.
Like if
he pediatric touch therapy education.
If he calls the head of the CIA, like what are we doing in regards to these types of investigations?
You have Trump tweeting at him and calling him Little Adam Schiff. Letting him know, hey, I know. You have this piece of thing. This also claims, I don't think this is going to be true. I would be shocked. And we're going to blow up if this is the case. I don't think it's true. This post claimed that Adam Schiff is going to be suicided I guess, Epsteined, for lack of a better word. So look out for plane crashes and stuff. This post was written right before Thanksgiving, and they said it was by the holidays. I don't think that's gonna be true. I hope that's not true. I wouldn't want to wish death on anyone. But essentially, what they said is it's not gonna be, it's gonna be to take him out because he's become too much of a liability. This impeachment thing's blowing up in his face. He's got this whole fucking thing hanging about, and apparently, do you know who's in the next room over? Anthony Bourdain.
Oh yeah.
And according to the same post, Anthony Bourdain was in the next room over. We can post it's an archive link.
Yeah, we can post.
We can post this thing so you guys can see it for yourself. I wouldn't lend it too much credibility. I'm putting that out there now. But it's fun to read about this kind of stuff, and this is the conspiracy theory segment. So Anthony Bourdain, according to this, was in the next room over, and he tried to alert the authorities. I don't know what he was a witness of and what he knew and what he didn't know, but I do know is that the story was that he killed himself. And there seems to be a lot of people who have witnessed political people doing bad things that they shouldn't have and ending up suicided.
Anthony Bourdain also has a history of, like, not necessarily with himself, but, like, he has a history of, like, people who are into this weird shit. Like, his girlfriend that he was dating, like, when he killed him, like, wasn't she cheating on him, like, with some, like 18-year-old kid that she used to know back, like, that she used to work with, like, on set? Or, like, after he died or something, she started hooking up with this kid that, like, she used to play, like, his stepmom on, like, a television show back when he was, like, 15.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or something. Yeah, he's, like, 18 now. Or he was, like, 18 when Bourdain killed himself, and then they started hooking up.
Very bizarre. I mean, who knows what the fuck he was doing at this place? You know, if this is the place where Schiff hangs out to go, like, fuck dead children, like, what the fuck are you doing there, man? Don't hang out at that place. But yeah, so who knows what the fuck he was into? Maybe he's just, like, a little bit, just got some weird fetishes, and then, like, next door he's like, oh goddamn, this is way too far.
Do you ever watch House of Cards? You ever seen that?
I never did watch it. No.
There's this fucking awesome scene in, like, one of the later seasons, I think, after Frank has become, like, chief of staff or the vice president or whatever, and they're literally, like, it, like, is, like, like, it's like a big long range shot of them coming into this forest where there's a bunch of people in the forest, and they're all, like, like, it's like these people that are wearing, like, these wood masks and robes and whatnot, and they're all dancing around a big pyre, and it's like, oh no, there you go, and they're, like, wiping blood on themselves and shit. And then, like, one of them, like, turns to the camera and puts his head up, and it's Frank, and he's just like, oh, hey there, didn't see you come in. Welcome to the party. I know what you're thinking. It's a bit strange, but this is what you have to do if you want to stay in with the elite and the powerful. And I'm just like it's one of the, because you always hear that joke. You always hear the joke about, like, like, oh, like, the world elite are into the occult crap. Like, they like sacrificing goats and shit to.
I mean,
you have their power. And
Freemasons has, had any important, powerful person in it, stuff like that.
Yeah, but you can go to, like, Randall Carlson's website, and, like, he'll go over, like, and obviously take this with a grain of salt because there's so much secrecy involving the Masons that, like, when one of the Masons comes up and tries to explain away a lot of the fucking, like, the shit that is, like, that people look at it and go, like, well. Like, well, you guys are the ones that are calling the shots of the New World Order.
It's like what Matt was saying to Huawei. It's just like, that's a big thing for you to say when, in reality, you don't have that.
But the Freemasons aren't beholden to anybody. It's like, a lot of people like to quote the fact that it's just like, oh, look at all these early ass U.S. presidents that were Freemasons. It's like, okay, so you got, like, what, fucking 7 or 8 U.S. presidents that were Freemasons total in the almost 300 years that we've been a country, because nobody is shy about their Freemasonry brotherhood.
I don't even know
it's
what
like,
the Freemasons are about.
It's just a fraternity of dudes.
That's
all it is. Yeah, it's just like, it's elite powerful people who get together to share their resources.
All right.
But I can understand where the conspiracy stuff comes into play because you're just kind of like, it's like the Build-A-Burger crap. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah. What were they doing?
What are you guys doing? Yeah.
Why are you dressing up all funny and burning things?
Yeah. And then people are like, don't
druid.
It's like, don't worry about it. It's like, now you're telling me not to worry about it. Like, I just want to know what you were doing, and you tell me don't worry about it. Like you do. I see that you're doing a bunch of strange stuff.
I'm going to worry about it.
Yeah, I see you doing all this strange stuff on the surface. I ask you about it. You tell me don't worry about it. Now I'm worried about it. But Freemasons, Freemasons, the Illuminati, stuff like that, these old school organizations, like one of the main things that they got going for them is the fact that they are old. They're way older than America, and that's like the thing that kind of like...
Have you seen that video of LeBron James doing the Illuminati triangle?
Oh yeah. I've seen all. You did the Jay-Z and fucking Beyonce get up there, do the Illuminati triangle. Like, none of them have any idea what the Illuminati is. I guarantee you, if I looked at LeBron James in the eye and I'd be like, "What country did the Illuminati start in?" He'd be like, "Oh, I have no idea." I guarantee.
So, is your hot take that they're not in?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
What? First of all, why would they even want them? It's like, oh, you know what, LeBron, I'm not going to lie. You're really good at basketball, but your Twitter account has already proven that nobody takes a fucking word you say seriously.
But he's got a lot of money.
He's got a lot of money. Not nearly as much money as the people who would actually be in the Illuminati calling the shots.
There's different tiers. There's different tiers.
There's a lot of money, and then there's a lot of money.
I don't understand LeBron, but... pop culture idols and music, and
I mean Taylor.
Okay.
Taylor Swift said she called out George Soros.
So
she said that he bought his like.
Oh, okay. So
these,
dude,
like
I'm gonna call it George. I'm gonna call it George Soros right now.
Okay.
Because I know he's doing bad stuff. Everybody knows he's doing bad stuff.
Why was George Soros buying her music though, dude?
Because her music's worth a shit ton of money.
These elites are interested in culture. In controlling the
because
culture.
you control the culture, then you have
I would be more inclined to believe that the Freemasons, which are still a known group, are more responsible for that as opposed to the Illuminati, which is basically just a shadow organization nowadays. That was started in like fucking Eastern Europe.
I have to ask, in a world post Epstein, is it that crazy to?
No, it's not at all. It's not at all.
I don't know if it's Illuminati specifically. I definitely think there are some occultist elements.
The occult exists within the elite of the world. You can look at Epstein's Island and you can see that as it's there. Evidence of it is there. My point is that like. The Illuminati has been this thing that just blew up to something way bigger than it was ever intended to be. It was originally formed because the people who wanted to be part of other more well-known and respected fraternities couldn't get in.
I think it's maybe a good time to explain to our viewers the name of this podcast and why we chose that name.
You should explain it to me too.
I don't say like I'm the one that picked the damn.
Sorry,
thing.
Matt wasn't in on that strategy meeting. But the word Illuminatio is Latin for it can, depending on context, have a couple different meanings. It can mean light. It can mean illumination, and it can mean light in the sense of illumination or to be illuminated upon an idea. And I think Illuminatio is something that at least I know when I first said, hey, Mom, we got our podcast live. It's called Illuminatio. She's like, oh, is it about the Illuminati? That was. So I'm sure other people are going to probably make that first assumption or jump, but in reality, the idea is to be an source of illumination upon different topics of social and political consequence.
They're just the whole thing. It's I don't even remember exactly what year. So it's like 1770 something is when the Illuminati gets, like birthed, because the original person that wanted to be in the Illuminati was, I think he wanted to be a Freemason. Don't quote me on this, but he wanted to be something and just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have like the clout. It's
like I want to look up the history of the Illuminati, but I just feel like looking up any publicly easily available resource on the history of Illuminati is just going to be, if everything that we say isn't true about the Illuminati is true, then
I think
ostensibly everything about them would be fabricated.
I think that everything about them is completely fabricated. I think that we've been giving all of the credit that like the Freemasons have been doing, pulling strings over the last 300 years. I think we've been giving that credit to the Illuminati, which ceased operations about less than 10 years after it was started.
Interesting. So the Illuminati is a front for the Freemasons.
That would be my assumption, just because it was one of the, like, it came up, it was super popular.
That's what I always thought.
Well,
I always thought the Illuminati was a front for something.
Well,
something else.
It blew up. So it's like 1770 something. You come up with the idea, and you're like, here's what we're gonna do: secret society for the world, like elite controlling class. Everybody's like, all the people who want to be part of that, they're like, yeah, no, we're in 100%. We are down. But like, one of the main things that like people don't really like take into consideration here is that the Illuminati at the time was a religious movement as well. It was like a step away from the traditionalism that like the German Catholics or the German Protestants at the time, were, going about. They were like, your interpretation of the Bible is all wrong. You don't talk to God like that. You guys are nuts. I'm not, we are not going to, we need people who are at the forefront of reason. Based on my understanding, they originally wanted it to, it was like, we offer all kinds of tierships for like the members, and you get all kinds of divine abilities and stuff as you rise through the ranks. But then people would rise through the ranks way too quickly. So they had to keep like adding ranks and stuff. And like the whole thing just kind of fell apart. And like a bunch of these people who were like, super high ranking Illuminati members went to go and form other secret societies and join other secret societies and stuff like that. And it just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah. So what I'm really interested in is knowing like which secret societies have power. Which ones like each other, which ones don't like each other, who's running what. Like, I'm just really curious as to like the actual structure of.
The Freemasons have power.
The Freemasons have power.
They have power. They've existed long before our country has been around. We have multiple leaders. It's the same crap as like the Bilderberger stuff, where it's just like they want to build a better world, but and where you kind of get that like overarching, like obviously I'm sure there's a bunch of more detailed
their vision
things.
of a better world.
So that's the thing.
Yeah. But I guess if they founded America, I'm okay with that vision.
Well, they didn't necessarily found America. It was just the fact that like some of the early founders of America were part of that idealism, where they thought to themselves like, yeah, this is. But once again, that's an idealism that has potentially shifted a shit ton over time. True. It's like nobody is that.
And people want to assign blame for their problems to other people. And so when you hear of, a group of powerful people getting together to go do God knows what, people are automatically going to assign malevolence to that.
What do you think the Freemasons do nowadays? They probably host charities, raise money for, organizations and stuff that they all deem to be worthy of, money raising and stuff.
I think we can get the Freemasons to sponsor us.
No. Although
they're
we
definitely my favorite secret
we probably
society.
At some point in time, I do like a goal for me at the very least with this podcast is at some point in time to get Randall Carlson on a phone call to talk about climate stuff.
Well, I also think that
he's an actual member of like the Masonic fraternity, like indoctrined and everything.
From what I understand, that there's different levels of membership in the Freemasons. So while the people, while the public may be aware of what's going on in the peripheries, of, Freemasons membership that may be seemingly benevolent. What if there is a more, higher ring?
I don't think that they would even risk bringing to light the fact that they still exist if that was the case. Because with these secret societies, the only reason that anybody knows that they exist.
What if they're just fronting their outer ring for something else?
But why? Why do that?
Thinking the Illuminati is a front.
I know, but if you've already managed to if
you've
already managed to keep all the horrible things secret, then why make anything public at that point? Because that's just going to get people potentially involved.
Red herring.
Red herring can potentially lead to a real herring or a normal herring.
Well,
whatever color they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
I mean, like you said with the House of Cards shit, a lot of what I've read a lot on Twitter, which, by the way, this whole thing was a thread on Twitter. I'm just an idiot. It was on Threader. It's not like a post by someone. It's a thread on Twitter with the Adam Schiff stuff. But what you were saying about the House of Cards, like I've read a lot that people say these global elites, for whatever reason, like to flaunt what's going on. Or drop little hints of it in front of our eyes.
Well, and
I don't know why. I don't know if they want to normalize it or if it's just like a thing.
I think it's a power thing.
People like Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton. These are megalomaniacs. These are people who strive for power / influence, and they get off on this power / influence.
Well, because they think they're righteous in doing so. They think that their ideas and their ideals and their values and their morals are right, and so right that they should be impressing those upon the people around them.
I don't even. I can agree with.
That's really megalomania, right there.
I can definitely get behind that. Yeah, but I would even say like that in some cases with these people that it's just like people just enjoy, like Donald Trump, for example, I don't believe that he wants to get everybody on board with his way of thinking because he thinks that, he himself is absolutely correct and everybody needs to listen to him just because, he's got the answer. I think that he genuinely just likes it when people like him.
Yeah.
I like it when people like me too.
Yeah, I think he genuinely gets off on it. Like he's just like, yo, if you don't like me, then, fuck you.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here! Like I'm not messing around.
You're fired.
Yeah, you're fired. You're fired. No.
I just googled it. Because I was like, is Trump a Freemason? He's not.
No,
he's not.
I'm too starved for attention to tell people to fuck off when they don't like me. I'll just continue to do whatever it takes to win that affection.
Trump will too. There's a handful of people that he tells to fuck off, and there's an even bigger handful of people that it's just like, well, you know what? Well, fuck you then. But I am very open to the idea of opening up communications with them. I think that, genuinely he's a good person. He just surrounds himself with idiots. If he wants your respect, he'll attack everybody around you. But if he doesn't care about your respect, he just attacks you directly. It's just like,
yeah, he's
sit in front of Macron and just sit there talking shit about France. He's like, man, dude, France. Macron, what are you doing over there, dog? France is falling apart. And he's like, oh, well, Donald, I do not know what this, the Frenchmen are very upset.
Do you see that shit when he was like, you want some nice ISIS fighters? I fucking lost my shit. Anyone that says that Trump isn't funny is full of shit. Dude, he's hilarious.
C-SPAN put this thing out the other day where they were sitting there talking about light bulbs. And
he's most certainly been the most entertaining president we've had, without question.
They're talking about light bulbs, and Trump's like, "Well, they're not very good lights. I don't like these lights. They make you look not good." And he's like, "And as a very vain person, that's this is something very important to me."
That's what he said.
Yeah, and he's like they kind of give you an orangish glow to your skin. I don't know why anybody would want that.
The man knows what he's about.
No, I mean,
he's so fucking funny.
You lean into it. He's been leaning into it for the past 35 years.
He was on WWE. Obviously, he can joke about himself.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. We're all the idiots down here. Anybody that sits there and goes like, "Man, Trump is way over," it says like, "No, you're in way over your head, my friend."
The thing I'm always reminded of is that he's been a billionaire for a long time. He's been a billionaire for a long time. And you're going to get some libs going like, even his tax returns. He's not actually a billionaire. Like, whatever. Okay.
That doesn't matter it doesn't matter if you think he's an idiot or not. He's the most powerful idiot in the free world right now.
Yeah. He's been a billionaire forever, and he was a Democrat for a long time. Hillary and Bill were at his wedding with Melania. They came to his wedding because he donated to them.
You have to say it like that.
Melania. My wife, Melania.
That's how he says it.
Yeah.
I know.
With always like the pinch. Melania.
It's like, I feel like that was, a prenuptial agreement. Like, you have to pronounce my name perfectly.
Yeah, and you know what happened? They got married, and now they have a giant of a son. Apparently, he's like a super genius, and he's like 6'5".
Dude, he's so
Barron is unreal.
He's so tall.
Trump is 70 years old, and he's like, I want another.
Dude, Barron is.
I want another 6 foot son.
I don't believe that he's like a super genius, just because like he's always got this like look on his face where he's just kind of like.
He's good with the cyber. What do you mean?
Hey, man.
That's what Trump said. He's good with the cyber.
There's this
a lot of
amazing,
Asperger kids have that look on their face.
There is this amazing
Computer
joke.
genius.
This amazing joke where they're talking about how they're talking about Dan Aykroyd's like Crystal Skull vodka.
Mm.
And he's like talking about Dan Aykroyd's like they're watching the commercial and Dan Aykroyd's like, I turn you over now to blah blah blah, the Newfoundland distillery. And then like it pans over to JonTron and the thing, and he's like, I don't know who this guy is. He just wandered in here one day and started kicking everything around, going, it's like, my vodka, I want my vodka. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm in a really bad situation. I need help. But please, if anybody is interested in helping, I need you to contact my son Dennis at his web zone. He's way better at computers than I am. He'll be able to give you all the information you need. And I'm just like, that kind of reminds me of like how my grandfather, I feel like, just contact my son Mark on his web zone. He's really good at computers. He'll tell you everything that you need to know. And it's like, are you good at computers, Mark? And it's like, I'm okay. Like,
I know how to email.
Yeah. I went to your web zone and I noticed.
But yeah, Trump's he's a funny guy. Like, I mean, Joe Rogan loves that tweet, the Greenland tweet that he did.
I can't wait for Trump Jr. to be on Rogan.
Oh, I know. They're friends. That's what I'm waiting on. They're friends.
Why is he not? He literally just came out with a book and he did a giant podcast circuit. And
I think that Joe is very, very wary of the backlash.
Dude, that's horse.
I think he's afraid he's going to get kicked off YouTube, which is a very valid concern. I don't blame him for that. I would love to see it.
See, this is a problem with that. He's too big now.
I think he pulls too much for YouTube to get kicked off of it.
You think?
I think he might get those videos would definitely get sagged out of the algorithm though.
Yeah, no, I was like, that does not stop them from playing to YouTube's things. Like constantly, you'll hear like Joe being like, "Oh, put that up there. Play the audio for that." And you'll just hear Jamie go, "No, we're not gonna do that."
Yeah,
and this video will get.
He's got to be careful
immediately.
It's very I don't know. I'd love to see it because they're both hunters. They're outdoorsmen. He's talked about it before that he's a legitimate outdoorsman. Like Trump Jr. is a hunter. There's that picture of him I think they killed like a lion or something, and people are like, everyone is so upset about it. It's a fucking thing. It happens. You pay a shitload of money to go hunt old, sick animals that need to die.
Yeah, not to mention that there are overpopulations of lions in.
You got these old
Africa.
lions that are kicked out of prides, and they're sneaking around, and they're eating lion babies because that's what they fucking do. They're animals,
killing people's livestock and stuff like that. Like if you
don't
bring in some Americans, like if you're some African Saharan farmer, right, and you raise boars or some sort of pig-like animal and whatever, and you've got these old lions that are just wandering around your area, fucking eating your pigs, you are going to have to kill those lions regardless.
Well,
so you could
deer hunter's justification. I mean, if you don't have deer hunting, you'll have a no call of the population, and the deer's quality of life will suffer due to overpopulation.
Yeah, because there used to be wolves and bears all over America.
So why get upset with somebody when they try to just like when they outsource that to somebody who's willing to pay them?
Because people are idiots and they don't like to think things through. They just see, they killed it bad. And they're like, okay, but why did they?
It's not like he's out there killing a fucking white rhino. Like Jesus.
It's silly. It's silly. It's very silly. It's
a big dangerous animal.
Yeah, I would love to have
The
Trump
official
Jr.
statement from Matt. It's very silly.
Very silly.
Nobody would bat an eye if you were like nobody. Like they talked about it at work one day. Jimmy was talking about how he went hunting and he shot a coyote just because it was out and about in the way, and Ed's immediate response was good.
Yeah, fuck coyotes. They eat your pets.
Just like,
they eat your pets. You let your cat out, it gets fucked up by a coyote.
Yeah, coyote doesn't give two shits about you, man. Like, it fucking.
You know how many videos there are of like people with like poof dogs out in like California, and like the dog's outside like taking a piss, and then like a mountain lion comes and jacks it. They're all over YouTube. Go look that shit up and tell me you wouldn't shoot a mountain lion if you saw one.
It's fucked. It's fucked. So speaking of
delicious.
speaking of California,
Yeah.
I would both shoot and cuddle a mountain lion.
Yeah,
given the situation's
I want to
requirement.
eat one. Apparently, they're delicious. I think it's.
That was weird.
I want to eat one.
I want to try horse.
I've heard they're tough.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in a lot of game meat. I have not had the opportunity to eat a lot of it. I want to.
So,
It's California.
Venison's about as exotic as I get.
well, it's mostly New York, but I mean, California's been doing this for a good long while. I knew this would get Charlie's feathers all ruffled. That's why I texted him earlier about this.
You angered Charlie on his honeymoon.
Yeah, no,
Shout out to Charlie on his honeymoon. Congrats, man.
I thought to myself, yeah, congratulations. I thought to myself, like, I'm like, okay, what will be funny? Because like I'm trying to think, like, I'm like, where is Charlie right now? I imagine he's by a pool, you know, like wearing a swimsuit. He's probably a little buzzed, and I imagine like I really wanted to have happen was that he was like sitting there, and I text this to him, and he's in the middle of talking to Aaron about something not really important, maybe like, you know, like, oh well, tonight we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna go do that, blah blah blah, and they're like, and then the phone buzzes, it's like, this will make you mad, don't look at it. And it's like, what?
And he's gonna look at it.
Yeah, naturally. So he clicks on it, and then it tells him that the Hill posted a story today about how the lines are in New York at the BMV they're wrapped up around the corner for undocumented immigrants currently living in New York City to come and get licenses.
Which everyone knows, undocumented is the PC term for an illegal alien.
Yeah. So
the language where matters, folks.
So the idea here is that the fact that they have licenses does not necessarily say that undocumented / illegal immigrants can vote in American elections. However, Charlie brings up a good point in this text message conversation we were having earlier, where he says a lot of people who work polls are volunteers. They're members of the community. They are older people who don't really think about that. And it's not like your undocumented immigrant license just says right on the cover, undocumented immigrant, don't let vote. So, you know, like a lot of the times we're worried that Charlie said that, you know, like these are just, you know, that people are just going to walk right in. It's like, here's your ID. Thank you. And you walk right in, and we're going to have massive amounts of voter fraud. I can understand where like this would become like a serious issue potentially later. But like what Charlie sent that link earlier, apparently there's been like 15 states that have all signed on to allowing like illegal immigrants to getting driver's licenses.
Yes. Yeah.
And ICE is not allowed to use.
I don't know if that is their end goal.
I'm okay with driver's licenses, you know, as long as they're obviously passing all the same, you know,
I think
state
they
requirements.
shouldn't be here.
Yeah, I think they should go home.
Yeah. So no.
Come in through the door.
No, I'm not okay with driver's licenses, because that's basically going like, well, you know what? You shouldn't be here, but I'm going to let you get a license anyway. And you know what? That's basically just me going like, you shouldn't be here, but nobody gives a shit if you're here. But that's my take. You know, like
it's just there's a lot of problems with having illegals in your country. They don't pay taxes. That's a very, very, people say they do, and yet look, okay, like anyone will come in America and pay taxes via sales tax.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know, you go to Sweden, buy a chocolate bar, you paid Swedish tax, but they don't pay income tax. And you don't pay into the system.
They don't pay into the federal taxes.
They don't pay federal
no
taxes.
federal taxes at all.
They're getting a lot of handouts. It undercuts the labor market because a lot of these illegals. So I want to take the emotions out for a moment. and talk about the facts. And the facts is that these people are not skilled labor. They are not computer programmers. Because there's not a lot of computer programming degrees that are coming out of Honduras.
It's fair.
It's not everyone knows that. That's the whole thing, is that they're escaping a shitty country for a better chance at life. Isn't that the narrative? They don't have opportunity there. So everyone should agree with that. They're not skilled labor. If you flood the market with unskilled labor, simple law of supply and demand states that wages will go down for that labor type. So the argument is that, they're doing the jobs that Americans don't want. No, Americans want to do those jobs. Americans want to do them for a fair wage. We need $15 an hour. No. Let the market decide the wage. And if you flood the market with cheap labor, it's going to drop wages. And that's why one of many, many, many reasons why we've seen wage increases under the Trump administration. Deportations, tax cuts, deregulating, the labor market overall, unemployment's super low. And if you have a really, really tight labor market, there's more job openings than there are eligible workers at the moment. If that's the truth, which it is, then you're going to have to see employers fight to get employees. They need these positions filled, and they can't fill them because they're not paying enough. People got choices. So it's simple supply and demand, and it's a thing that people really want to ignore. That illegals cost a lot of money, they lower wages, and it's not their fault. It's just them being here by nature. It's the predicament that they're in. They're not doing that on no one's hopping the border to thinking, I can't wait to fuck with the macroeconomics of this nation state. But that's my rant on that.
No, I mean, it's not, because it's if you're not gonna follow the rules of the system, it's why even have the damn thing there in the first place to
Yeah.
So it's literally just causing a hindrance and potentially getting an expedited for a bunch of other people. Because if you think about it, it's you just coming over the fence, not asking, just doing.
Yeah. How is
you're
that
making
fair?
it harder for somebody else who's gone through the legitimate channels, who's now, having to wait and will now go through extra scrutiny because, people are shitty and they loop other people in with big groups and stuff. And they're going to look at, I came in here through all the legal channels, Mexican, the same way, somebody who's earned their citizenship as opposed to somebody who hasn't earned their citizenship. They're going to look at them the same way. You guys, I'm just done with the Mexicans. I just want them to go back. And it's just why do you think people think that? Nobody thinks that because
I don't think a lot of people think that.
I don't think.
There's
hard.
Gonna be some. There's some assholes.
I think I honestly think it's more of a mentality that you run into with towns along the edge of the border. So the red towns that still border the blue districts that have inevitably popped up out of the border crossing areas.
Yeah. Can you pull up the 2016 county electoral map of Texas? And continue.
Well, yeah. So I mean, because I used to the guys that I used to hang out with in WoW, they they were all from Texas, and one of the main complaints that they would have is that that nobody, all of these people coming in to, coming into Texas, who are demanding that everything basically stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're not learning English. They refuse to basically change anything about themselves. None of them have insurance or anything like that, and they're just flooding all up in here. And people who live along these red towns these red districts that border all these blue districts.
What is at the bottom of Texas down there?
Down there?
Yeah, in all those blue areas.
Well, the border for one.
Yeah, but what else? Are there any major cities down there other than El Paso?
I was just about to say, I know El Paso's down south, but
you're saying these Texas boys?
Well, because you're basically having this gigantic influx of people coming in, basically saying that no, we're gonna keep our type of culture the way it is and burn on you guys.
Yeah,
that's not fair. It's going to and it's going to cause division between you. And so it's like if you deal with like 50 Mexicans who come over, you know, like all, you know, gung-ho, and they, you know, like they don't want to learn English, and they're all sick and they need medical attention, and none of them have insurance and blah, blah, blah. You know, like the next time, you know, like some person who fought and clawed to get their citizenship comes through and whatnot, you're just going to think the same thing. You're just going to be like, oh, well, this piece of shit, you know.
And an unsecured border is okay, if you want to say every single illegal is coming here with a heart of gold and no ill intentions, okay, all right, let's assume that for a moment. You're still going to get people that are going to take advantage of that. And MS-13 has been roaming around the country, killing people, raping people, stealing things, all sorts of terrible, terrible crime because they can. It's
the Sinaloa cartel is at war with the United States government. We have their leader in custody. They are not happy.
No.
They are killing innocent people at the border. It's horrible, and they're doing it in horrible, horrible fashion. Like, they're making ISIS look like a bunch of fucking bitch.
Well, I mean, like Trump just designated cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
They are burning cars with children in them alive.
Yeah, they killed all those Mormon folks.
Yeah.
It was terrible. You have this going on right down there. Why the fuck would we not want a wall between us and them?
With the guns that we gave them.
With their operations, you know, they want to send people in here to sell fentanyl-laced opioids and kill people. China makes the fentanyl. They sell it to the cartels. The cartels truck it up on through, and they sell it, and it gets spread everywhere. And we have the opioid crisis. We just got to talk about, like, safe injection centers and this and that. No, cut off the source.
Right.
Cut it off.
Right.
Build a big ass wall, and then let a lot of people through. But I don't think we should let anyone through. I think we should ask them questions like, do you like us? Do you like America? You know, why do you want to come to America? You can't expect...
What do you have to offer America?
Exactly. Like, you can't immigrate to another, like a European nation just because you want to.
Dude.
You have to prove to them that you're going to be useful to their society. That's everywhere else in the world except for us.
Yeah, that might just be it. It just might be the fact that you have the ability to offer.
You're not going to be on
or slightly skilled labor.
Yeah, you're not going to be on welfare and just sit there and do nothing.
Right.
And you wouldn't move to Europe, you know, France or any nation. You wouldn't move there and not learn French.
No, I was just thinking that.
You know, like, you're not going to go there and not learn French and just sit on your ass and bitch that they don't sell hamburgers that are the size of your head. You're going to go there and you're going to eat baguettes and go, ho, ho. You're going to assimilate. That's the process of assimilating. And
it's what you got to do if you want to move from countries.
It's what's essential.
And sounding like a Frenchman.
Ho, ho. Macron.
I
love it when Macron ruins my economy.
The official French indoctrinated process of assimilation.
Yeah, they shove a bag up your ass.
But I was saying,
until you squeal. Oh.
Well, I don't know about you gents, but I'm thinking that this should probably be a good spot to stop.
Yeah.
With the baguette up our ass?
Yeah, baguette up the butt. So.
You know, the French tanks have 17 gears that go in reverse and one that goes forward in case the enemy's in front. Or enemies behind, rather. I fucked that one up.
You fucked it up.
I'm dumb. On that note, folks.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, make sure that you stay safe. I've been JP.
I've been Matt.
I'm Tyler. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, family, loved ones, and anybody else you think would be interested in this podcast. Thank you, and good night.